Hey, Amy, what's up?
Hi, Dr. John. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good.
So what's up?
So, my question today is how should I navigate my mother's reunion with a son she gave up for adoption years ago and the potential impact this can have on my family?
Well, we'll get into the particulars, but I think um,
Yeah,
I
this
would
is
say
kind of a big bomb.
it is, but I'd say step one is the impact on your family is not the number one priority here. The number one priority
Okay.
here is your mom reuniting with her son, and you've got a brother.
Yes.
I think that exhale is the most important thing right now. Or let me say it this way. Everything is now different, and the quicker you can live in that reality, not the easier, but the less anxious everything that comes after is going to be. If you head into this new world trying to protect what you have and what has been and try to get back to normal as soon as possible, you're going to make yourself an anxious wreck.
I can see that, yes.
Everything is different now. You have a brother.
Yes, and a little backstory with my family. There's a lot of ins and outs.
I can imagine. I can imagine there's a ton of it.
4 marriages with my mom and 4 divorces.
Okay, let it
and
rip.
some boyfriends in between that have been live-ins for a few years. So I think some of this comes from you always expect it to go away because it doesn't stay forever.
Mm-hmm.
Mindset kind of hits me, if that makes sense.
Say that one more time.
If that makes sense, just that mindset of, okay, if he comes now for a little bit, he's here, but is it going to leave just like the other marriages or the other step siblings, or I do have 3 other half siblings with her. So I think that's the hard part to navigate for me, that emotional, like, do you latch on and, okay, let's go all in on this relationship, or is this just going to be another, in a couple years, it'll kind of taper off and slowly leave like other relationships? If that makes any sense at all.
Totally. One of the core features of anxiety is trying to reach out into the future and control it in the present. And you can't. And the frustrating, crushing, awful thing about relationships is the only way they work is if you're vulnerable and you say, this is me. Do you still love me? And when they work, it's transcendent. It's the heartbeat of planet Earth, of all people. And when it doesn't work, you can get dreadfully hurt.
Right.
I made the decision a long time ago to stop trying to hedge my bets when it comes to meeting people. It's too exhausting and it makes me too anxious. I'd rather risk somebody disappearing on me, or I'd rather risk me having to say, yeah, I need to draw a boundary here. This relationship's not healthy for me, or I just don't have time for it, than to walk around trying to predict what song is going to be playing in 2 years. It's exhausting. And by the way, I've got a way easier path than you do. I don't have a bunch of half siblings and another one's popping up and another one's popping up. What's the story with this particular brother?
So not a lot of that has came out. Slowly learning about a horrible childhood that my mother had.
Oh, man.
And this was not a good situation. And it was actually not consensual sex when this had happened.
Oh, geez. How old was she?
Instead of protecting 14.
God almighty, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And instead of protecting her mother protected the man, and they sent him off to the army and just to be away so that nothing was punished for him.
God,
so there's a lot to it. And it explains a lot about how my mother was, I think, growing up.
Yep.
It kind of puts some light into some of her actions and how maybe a little distant she was as a mother versus loving. And I shouldn't say loving. She was a loving mother, but didn't know how to show that necessarily to a child.
So can I process 2 things with you?
Sure.
If we were just meeting in person and we had a couple hours to sit and talk together, I would do this much slower, okay? So I'm going to be pretty abrupt, okay?
Sure. Yep.
You have 100% permission, 100% permission to be deeply and powerfully enraged at your grandmother.
And I do.
Good. That
Yes.
anger is right.
Yes.
And this is going to sound sideways. You're going to have to forgive Amy for how angry you've been at your mother for all these years. You didn't know.
Right.
You didn't know. And these are these moments that pop up that we find out later that suddenly humanize our moms and our dads. It doesn't make our pain go away. It doesn't make our childhood any better, but it provides a context, and it makes us a lot more filled with mercy and grace, right?
100%.
But you have to go back and be honest about how angry and how the judgment you've had and the letters you've written and the conversations you've had and the times you've gossiped with your brothers and sisters about, Mom, if she just... And then these moments like, oh, she was raped as a child and her mom covered it up for the guy.
You couldn't have said it any better.
Right? And so I want you to forgive Amy. You didn't know.
Yes, I do.
Okay?
Yes, for sure.
And so here's your 2 homework assignments before you even get going. I want you to write your grandmother a letter. I'm assuming she's long passed, right?
Unfortunately, no.
God almighty, she's still alive?
Still hanging on forever. Just making life miserable for her children, for everybody. Like the never-ending Energizer Bunny.
Wow. Well, I never wish anybody to pass. But I can imagine she's casting a long shadow over your family.
100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Shadows go away when somebody turns the lights on. You don't have to live in that shadow anymore, Amy. And your mom probably does not have the skills to get out of that room that's cast in darkness and shadows, but you do.
Right. Yep.
So I want you to write a letter to your grandmother that you will never, ever sin, but I want you to get that rage out of your body onto a piece of paper so you can go along with your life. I also want you to write Amy a letter and tell Amy, I forgive you. We didn't know. But I want you to write in the third person to Amy. Okay?
I can do that.
And I want you to be specific about some of the things you've said, maybe you've done, maybe the times you've slammed the door and flipped her off behind, whatever's happened over the course of your lifetime. Times she didn't show up for your kids or whatever. But I want you to release that.
I can do that.
Okay. So when it comes to this brother, I don't know how it's going to be. Who knows? He may come running into your family with open arms. I don't know.
I really think that is how it's going to be. The little I do know, his adopted parents are no longer with him. And I think he's going to hear 3 half-siblings and aunts and uncles. And I'm going to walk into this family not realizing the amount of chaos.
Amy, he'll know.
So.
He'll know.
Yeah.
Every family's chaotic. Yours especially.
Right.
He'll know. He'll know. So here's what whenever people have these reunions, here's what I think is important. Are you married?
Yes.
Okay. Are you married to somebody that's trustworthy?
I am, yeah.
You like your husband?
I do, most days, yeah. No, of course.
That's exactly the answer my wife would give. All right, so I think it's important for y'all two to go out and have breakfast together. No kids. And it doesn't have to be expensive breakfast. It can be Waffle House or a local coffee diner or something like that. But I want you to verbalize out loud. I want you to tell them, hey, I just want you to listen to me. I just need to say some things out loud. This new guy's coming into the family. I got another half brother, and your dad's going to go, oh my gosh. And your husband's going to say, oh my God, all that. But I just need to say this out loud.
Oh, yeah.
And then I want y'all to be very specific about what boundaries will look like. I want you to say it out loud. I'm committing now. We're not going to give half brother any money. Half brother will or will not be allowed to stay with us in our home. And if you've got young kids, I would recommend no. You don't know this guy.
Right.
Half brother will be invited with everybody to whatever. Or I want you to set some of those boundaries. And once those boundaries are in place, it's kind of like having a budget with your money. Once your budget's spent, you can go eat wherever you want. You just got to do it with that much money.
Right.
But once you decided here's our lines we won't cross, then you can just go welcome him with open arms because you already have the walls set up.
Right. That's where I struggle. Boundaries.
Yeah, I figure.
It's always been a huge struggle.
You know why? Because your mom was a ghost. She had to be to survive. She disappeared inside her own body because her own mom didn't stick up for her. And as a kid, your whole life, you've been trying to hug a ghost. She's right there, but she's not there. And when you grow up in a family like that, that can happen with parents who struggle with substance abuse as well. They're right there. I see them, but they're gone. It's especially this day and age when parents are sitting there on their devices all day long, and their kids are trying to say, "Do you see me?" And they're like, "No, I'm looking at my little box. It's more important than you right now," right? But here's the deal: boundaries go away because we're going to take any and all shreds of relationship we can get from our parents and loved ones and caregivers. And we grow up as adults wondering what was so bad about us that we couldn't be loved. And so we'll take it from anybody, anywhere. We'll say yes to everything. We'll show up to everything, even if it kills us. We'll spend money we don't have. We'll do whatever we got to do to make those connections. That's all our nervous system knows. And the path towards peace for you, a non-anxious path, is you got to set up boundaries. Here's who we're going to be with this new half-brother, especially initially. Does that sound right?
That does, yes, 100%. Like I said, I always say I'm a fixer.
Yeah, you've had to be.
That's like just my mentality. I want to fix things, and
you've had to be.
You can't fix other people.
Nope, but you can. You can love Amy. You can love Amy.
Yes, I can.
You can love your mom in whatever weird way she can accept it. And you can stop carrying around that anger and that rage towards her. And here's what's true. Your childhood was a mess, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, there was a lot of ins and outs.
If you've got four or five or six men coming and going, it's a mess.
Yes.
Yes.
And yeah.
If you randomly have different brothers and sisters popping up every few years, that's the definition of a mess.
Yep. Between my mom and my dad, 5 marriages and 4 divorces. So,
Amy, that is
there
a mess.
Gets to be a little bit of
that's a mess. And listen,
a little messy. Like who's what,
that's right.
when.
But listen,
and when the divorce, are they still considered? Yeah.
So listen,
we've been through that many times. Listen.
Your child is a mess. Your adulthood doesn't have to be. You get to choose.
Right.
And it's going to be hard for you.
100.
But you get to choose. As the great Rage Against the Machine sang, take your power back. Take it back. You and your husband get to decide. Y'all get to co-create what happens next. And almost always that starts with a commitment to each other, and it starts with setting up boundaries so that we can head off 100% in the same direction, and we know the guardrails. We know who we're going to be. Hang on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of Building a Non-Anxious Life, just my gift to you. I want you to read it. There's a chapter specifically on this moment. But I want y'all to walk. I want you to turn the lights on. I want you to get rid of some of those shadows with what you can do, and that's a light switch on the wall or a flashlight. And I want y'all to head into a non-anxious life together. And then, cool, you got a new brother. I'm going to smile. I'm going to wave. I'm going to welcome him home. And I'm going to be smart and not put myself at risk, but I got a new brother. Very, very cool. Thanks for the call, sister. Call anytime.